All right, thanks for joining me today. This is a 2012 BMW 5 Series. This customer's complaint is he has multiple warning lights on, traction control, tire pressure monitor, steering drive moderately, and also other warnings that come up in his iDrive here. And they're all related to one single thing, and it is caused by a bad steering angle sensor. In this car, the steering angle sensor is right behind the steering wheel here, and it's also called an SZL, steering column switching cluster is what it stands for in German. And we're going to take this off and show you how it works. And also, after replacing it, it will need to be programmed after, and I'll show you that as well. First things first is we're going to take the airbag out here. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver, a really skinny, kind of longer one here. There's a little tiny hole right under here. I'm going to poke it under, and there's a little release spring that will allow me to pull the airbag out of here. So I'm just going to go straight up. There it is. Okay, there's inside of there. Pretty cool what's going on in there. And I'm going to disconnect the airbag connectors. Move my face out of the way just in case. There's one. There's two. And that's what it looks like behind here. On this bag, this is a dual stage airbag. There's stage 1 and stage 2, or vice versa, I'm not sure. And if you're a heavy driver or there's a large impact, it'll apply voltage to both of these, so you get double the power. All right, the next step is removing the centering bolt here. This is a 15mm hex bolt. We're just gonna take that off and undo these connections, and this whole piece should just slide right on out. There's that. And you want to be careful on here when taking it off. There's some splines in here. You can only go one way really, because luckily on this model it kind of has like a little centering key in here, so it is hard to mess up. All right, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to pull the steering column all the way out and all the way down, so I can access the little mounting screws above and below here. And this is the component that steers with the steering wheel. It lets the car know which way you're turning, and that allows the ABS system to operate correctly, and the dynamic traction control and all those other components. If it's offline, it doesn't know what to do, and you get all those crazy warning lights. All right, now I have the side trim off. You can see it's fully exposed. It's the whole unit. It also comes with all the turn signal stocks, and basically everything you see right here, it comes as a solid unit. It's not repairable. In this case, what probably happened is I see some suspension work. Sometimes they'll pull the shaft down at the bottom and do suspension work. And if you rotate it too many times, it'll break the little cable inside of here. It's kind of like a clock spring. If you go too far, it'll snap the contacts. That's my guess is what happened, and sometimes they just go bad. So now we're going to remove it, take these 4 screws out of here, and put the new one in. Before I get too excited, I want to make sure that this is in fact the correct one. So I'm just going to compare all the components here, make sure all the icons match. Sometimes they do a little bit of updates on these things. The little things may be different, but the main thing is if it has the same amount of buttons and all that. This is a pretty simple version. Some of these are pretty complicated. This one's pretty straightforward. Make sure all the connectors are the same and all that. cool feature about these steering columns on the BMWs is they're equipped with this crash element. It's kind of like a fiberglass type of feel element. It's really thin, so you get an accident, it just gives you that much more space so this thing doesn't ram inside your face or chest. Pretty neat. One-time use only, of course. A little trick on this one when going back in, I like to put the screws exactly back in where they came from because this is going inside of a metal thread here, and it was a self-tapping thread. These weren't tapped from the factory. Those screws are actually what taps the threads inside of here. They just force them in there. So they kind of each one have their own little personality. If you put a different screw in there, it just is binding, it doesn't fit right. So that's what I like to do. It just makes it go a lot smoother going in. This little thing here is a lock, just so it doesn't lose its clocking location. And you're gonna snap that right off right before you go to set the steering wheel inside there. Be careful when going back in with these screws because they break off easy. I broke one in there before and it's hard to get out, and it's hard to find another one just like it to replace it. Okay, you probably saw me just snap off this red thing here. Now what's important is there is a little tab right here that is supposed to be located and rest right in to this little slot right here in the steering wheel itself. If you get it in there and you line the splines up perfectly in here, then you are golden. By the way, in case you've ever wondered how the horn works on these, there's actually a contact on the airbag unit itself. There's 4 corners, one here, one there, and one there. And these springs hold the airbag away, kind of floating from this metal plate in here. And this metal plate here has those same exact contacts, all 4 corners. So wherever you hit, it's going to make a contact and it's going to complete the circuit, go to the relay, go to the body control module, actuate the horn, you hear the noise, boom, there you go. All right, like I said earlier, this component is not a plug and play. Next, I'm going to show you how to program the car. Only shops can do it, or maybe you have some software you can do it yourself, but this is how we do it here. We have the factory software. I'm going to show you that. First thing is we want to write down the radio stations just in case we lose that data. Also, all of the infotainment media has to be removed, whether that be via USB, even port connections, all of it, the CD out of here, we have to remove it all. If there's anything in there, that this head unit here can crash and that screen will go blank. It'll either turn black or blue or whatever. It has the possibility of crashing, so that's what we're going to do really quick before setting it up. All right, we're gonna hook up the diagnostic port. All right, all green lights, good. These are the fault codes that this car had. Steering angle implausible, and you go in there and you run the test plan, you try to reinitialize it, and it just will not, and it states to replace the component. All right, so we're gonna press exchange control unit because we replaced one, and we're gonna select the replace control unit. All right, there it is, SCL. Click the button. All right, so it's going. What we want at the very end are all these to be green. So each one of these components here is a computer inside of the vehicle. Like that's the engine control module, that's the comfort. The car access system, the list goes on. Look at how many computers are in this car. There's a ton of them. A ton. That's why cars are so expensive nowadays. So basically we wanted to add the latest software into that new component, and it's also going to update all of these other computers as well, so they all have the same software so they can all work with each other. All right, 45 minutes in and everything looks good so far. Some green check marks, some status bars, everything is going through great. All right, programming was successful. Initialized all the other components like the seats, windows, sunroof, etc., a bunch of stuff. Everything turned out great. It's time to adjust tire pressures and top off the fluids for the customer and take it for a spin and make sure there's no other warning lights on. Thanks for joining me today. Everything turned out fantastic. I'll see you guys next time. Happy motoring to you.
Ooh, we got some filming.
Yeah. Hook up the diagonal.